Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 167 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is very popular in the aquarium trade. I personally don't like them and I will explain in depth why I do not like this fish. But plenty of other people do, so it warrants attention. Today's fish that we're going to be talking about is bam! The pearl cichlid, or the pearl earth eater as some people know it. Now the pearl cichlid, or scientific name Geophagus brasiliensis, again that's Geophagus brasiliensis, it is part of the family Cichlidae, which is the family of cichlids. And we've talked about these a couple of times in the past, most noticeably probably the Jack Dempsey cichlid. But yeah, Cichlidae is a very large family. Most of them are found in South America. But it's still very important. And just like many other cichlids, this one is also native to South America. More specifically found in Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina natively. Now, in Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina, you can find these in rivers, lakes, ponds, and tributaries. Basically, water. I mean, these things are pretty prevalent throughout there. This is not a fish species that's in any issue of going endangered, as you probably already guessed, considering that I said it's part of the aquarium trade. But something that's not something that's interesting, but in terms of where you're going to find these, yes, you'll find them in water, but they're found in slow moving or still water. These are not a swift water species. So these are going to be very concentrated around these backwater areas and slack water areas. Lakes and ponds are where you're really going to find these. And not only are they found in those slow moving waters, usually when you have slow moving waters, you have very sandy or muddy substrates, which this one is very prevalent or really seems to enjoy. But this fish is also very heavily associated with vegetation. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Now, in terms of size, I would call this a medium-sized fish. And normally average around 15 to 20 centimeters, which is around 6 to 8 inches. Males will get up to 25 centimeters, around 9.8 inches. There apparently has been some records of them getting close to 30 centimeters, which is getting closer to a foot long. I don't know if I believe it, but they're out there. I just really don't believe it. Now, I said males reach up to that size, and that's because when they become sexually mature, females really only get to about half that size, which says that the male is very territorial and more than likely has more than one female that it mates with during breeding season. Usually when you get that. Traditionally, females, or not traditionally, a lot of fish species, it's the opposite. The female is larger, and that's so that they can lay more eggs. Now, in terms of shape, this is kind of your traditional cichlid shape. Large head, large scales, kind of oval compressiform body, like a pancake, oval shaped. I mean, this is pretty picturesque of what a cichlid is going to have. These two dorsal fins connected with the front being spiny and the back being a little more fluorescent and elongated. That seems to be pretty prevalent throughout the cichlid family, if not all cichlids. In fact, I'm trying to think of any cichlids that don't have this majestic flare on the back of the second dorsal. And I might be wrong. This might be considered one dorsal, but I think it's technically two dorsal fins that are connected. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It could be a singular dorsal fin. In terms of color, it's pretty varied. This is a very good picture with this kind of like baseline orange or pale brown, but they do get darker. You have this kind of like darkish gray to a blue. This one's very orangish, but you have this pretty variation in the baseline color, but it does seem to be predominated with these two dark spots right here. That seems to be pretty prevalent. I should also mention that their color is actually pretty variable, not just between the fish, but also these are one of those fish that their color can vary based on their mood or even their mating sessions, where they're at. This fish is very subject to color change. But like I said, it usually has these two dark spots. Most of them have this dark line going through the eye. Sometimes they'll have bands. They'll also have a lot of times, not on this one, but you can see the spot. One spot's usually very prevalent and two doesn't always show up. But something that I personally have seen is that this leading edge of the dorsal and leading edge of the pelvic fins usually have this sort of dark front edge, dusky edge right there. But I mean, there's a cichlids. If you don't know what you're looking at least I hope by now you know what a cichlid is. It's generalized body shape, and a lot of them have very similar ecological and biological characteristics, how they interact with their environment. So if you're not entirely sure exactly which cichlid you have in your aquarium, if you have one and it's a South American cichlid, just do a little research in there in terms of what makes this, whether the color pattern or variation can really get you to differentiate between pearl cichlid and other cichlids. I do believe so. I think it's fairly evident, like the combination of these factors makes it a Braziliensis versus others, but I don't want to say with 100% certain. Now, these are an omnivorous fish. They're going to eat small invertebrates, other small fish, but they really enjoy really enjoy algae and plants as well. And they're very prolific breeders. Both males and females will actively guard the eggs in the fry, which when you lay about 150 to 300 eggs, I believe, and you have both parents actively guarding both the eggs in the fry, that means that usually you have a very high recruitment rate, meaning that a lot of those fry are actually making it to juvenile status, potentially into adulthood. So that means that these things, that's one of the reasons why these can be so prolific. So be aware if you have these in an aquarium that they could take over if you're not particularly careful. But they are very popular in the aquarium trade. And you can find them for around $10 to $30, sometimes cheaper, sometimes more. And they can become invasive. In Australia, they are considered an invasive species. But now for the interesting fact that I'm going to end the video on is actually why I don't like this fish in an aquarium. Many people do, I don't. One of the reasons why is because I like community tanks. A lot of small fish, maybe a couple of more docile, larger fish. This fish can be territorial and very aggressive, and so it can bully out other smaller fish or eat them. So that's one reason why I don't like this fish. Second reason, if you remember that I was talking about this fish, heavily found in sandy and muddy bottoms, and they eat algae and plants. Well, how they do that is these fish are prolific diggers. These things will dig pretty large holes in the substrate that they're in. So they need to for this fish to be at its optimum in an aquarium, it needs smaller size sands and gravels that it can actively dig just to make it happier. But I don't like extremely large substrate deals, but I kind of like a medium size. So that's kind of number two. The third thing is remember I said they eat algae and plants. I love live plant aquarium. I think if you don't have live plants aquarium, it is noticeably lackluster versus having this, beautiful like java ferns, cryptocorns in there. I think it just makes an aquarium that much better. Well, this fish will tear them to pieces. And even if it doesn't eat the plant, it may uproot the plant just to get underneath it because it just wants to dig. And so that's kind of like the third strike against this fish for me, is I don't want to, I mean, there's ways to get around it. You can plant your plant in a little aquatic flower pot and like stack rocks around it to where the fish can't actually rip it out of the ground. I don't want to have to design and plant plants around one fish. I do not think this is a good fish for an aquarium, at least for me. There are plenty of other people, I hope there are people that'll watch this that completely disagree with me. And that's fine. Aquariums should always be tailored to your personal preference. Now, you can have these in a planted aquarium, like this one right here. It's in here with this nice little Acara cichlid. Like, just be aware that it's going to tear up some plants. You will probably be replacing plants fairly often, or trimming plants that have been gnawed on by this fish. And to me, the plants, like, really, I mean, obviously the fish are the stars of an aquarium, but the plants are what bring out those colors, those vibrant movements and vibrant showings. This is not the fish for me, but it is part of the aquarium trade, so, and a lot of people love it. So I hope you enjoyed this. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you do. I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If you'd like to support the channel below, or if you'd like to support the channel, please click the link down below. It is by no means expected, but very much appreciated. Regardless, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and